Welcome to the Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast. Thomas Miller, thank you for coming back, and we're going to talk about an audiobook that I hope that will really impact your life the way that it did mine when I recorded it back in the summer of 2025. The book is called The Upscaling Method. It's Fred Dodson's latest book, newest audiobook out, and it's short, quick, and highly effective. I'm going to see if Fred can join us, but I have to clear a backlog first before I can do it. But we'll try to get him on to talk about the concept, the idea. It's not a new idea. In fact, he's used it in his seminars for a long time. But I think one of the real markers that Fred has contributed through his work to our conscious community is this idea of scale. Levels of Energy is a scale book. You cannot read, or I hope listen, to that book and not see life differently. And it's really in the explanations and the different contexts and the different applications of the various levels. If you just said, oh, this level is higher or lower than this level and this is what you'll attract on this level, you don't get it. It's too simplified. This one takes some integration. Well, now the upscaling method is taking the scale concept and applying it to several other areas of life. This one's a short book, though. It's a quick listen, and that's because it's simple. That's another Fred thing. Try to simplify your life in every area possible. If you have your eyes out for that, it's amazing what you come across that you can simplify. Well, this is the same kind of thing. You put your eyes out and you start to look across your life and you say, how can I upscale? And the work through in the book is working you down the scale, back up to where you are, and then up the scale, and then back down the scale, and up the scale. That's the real magic in this book. So you'll get the concept even from this little section that I'm going to play, so I'd love to share this with you, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. What could your life be like one level higher if you wake up tomorrow morning and everything were improved just one level? Would you be more at ease, more productive, more focused? Would colors appear slightly brighter? Would your breakfast portion be bigger or smaller? Would anything change about where and how you take a morning shower? How would you treat others? That's just the beginning of the upscaling method, which I've taught in my seminars over the last 30 years. It's by far my most used self-improvement tool. I love inventing new techniques and always bring something new to my seminars, but I've always brought the upscaling method with me, which I invented in the late 1990s. The upscaling method exists to change your thoughts and beliefs, to discover weaknesses and strengths, and to ascend on the scale of consciousness. Seeing things on a scale or a spectrum allows for contrast and comparison, and with that, an awareness of change and real progress. An example. I had a student who complained about having been single for a long time. She told me she kept attracting men who bore her, and then she attracted men who lack integrity, and finally she attracted men who were violent. The men she wanted didn't seem to be interested in her. In the few cases where she attracted good men, they didn't want to commit to a relationship. I asked her to send me several pictures of herself and also pictures of the type of man she's interested in. She was reluctant, saying she doesn't go by looks and doesn't want to be judged by looks, so she won't judge men by the looks. I suspected that her plea was dishonest because she had previously emphasized how good she looks and that this ought to attract the right men, but now it didn't matter. It's a good thing I had listened carefully. She finally sent the pictures. I started by defining her and the men on a scale. You are a level 7. The guys you attract are level 5 and 6. That's why you're not interested in them. The men you want, in the pictures you sent me, are level 9 men, and that's why they are not interested in you. That was an entire issue simplified and clearly laid out in just one short paragraph. Do you see why I like the upscaling method? In essence, everything is about resonating at the right frequency with that which you wish to attract in life. As is often the case with the unvarnished truth, she got offended and denied that she was only a 7. "Why do you see me as only 7? I'm a 10 for sure. I'm good-looking, funny, awesome, and smart." Knowing this will improve your life immensely. The egoic mind lies to itself how great it is. Somebody might say, "My business is awesome. It should be making money, but it isn't." In reality, if your business were truly awesome in the eyes of the customer, it would be making money. The egoic mind is full of denial, unwillingness, hidden agendas, and self-importance. If you replace that with more humility, honesty, and authenticity, you've gone a long way in conquering delusion. I told her that if she actually were a 10, she would easily attract level 9 men who'd want to commit instead of just use her for one night. Something that we don't value, we temporarily use. Something we value, we commit to. I told her if it's really true that you are a level 10, then you wouldn't be asking me for coaching. Then all these level 9 men would be running after you. In fact, they might even bore you because they are below your level. Then she created the next level of denial and said, "I don't like these scales. I don't like judging people as inferior and superior. We're all the same. We're all equal." That's not the first time I'd heard that statement regarding my upscaling method, or seeing things in levels or on a spectrum. There is a fine line between becoming judgmental and looking down on people versus discerning differences. She was already judging men who were violent, and rightfully so, and subconsciously also judging attractive men as better, so her claim that we're all the same rang hollow. In my work, I've noticed that people who most loudly proclaim equality are subconsciously the most judgmental. They compensate for their judgmentalism by continually affirming just how equal we all are. The separation into better and worse is not something I created with my scale, but something that is already inherent within the ego. The scale merely highlights what's already there. She has already subconsciously categorized them. The scale is merely showing her how she has done it and what life results it is getting her. My scaling of her and others into numbers such as 6, 7, and 9 is not an objective measure of a person's value or worth. It's not an objective measure of anything. It's a subjective vibration or energy with which to contrast and compare where you are versus where you want to be. The level 6 men are not inherently level 6, at least not in every aspect. They are only level 6 in contrast or comparison to what she wants, to her goals. This work has nothing to do with being judgmental and labeling people, and has all to do with changing your frequency and energy to be in alignment with the thing you want. If she continues to feel that these men are above her league, she continues to repel them. But if she can generate more inner self-value and step up her game to be a level 9, then she will have an easier time attracting them and maintaining a long-term relationship with such a man. The reason that I'm labeling her as a 7 is so that there is space for improvement. If she were already a 10, with 10 being the highest on the scale, there is no room for betterment. In fact, her assumption that she's quote-unquote perfect is one of the reasons why she is still single. The thought, "I'm done improving," blinds you to any weaknesses, and it puts your development on hold. Level 7 is good, but there is more. There is something required of you to start aligning with that level 9 that you desire. If no change were necessary, why book the coaching with me? If you're already perfect, why work on yourself? Instead of hoping, dreaming, or wishing for that level 9, she would have to become level 9. She would have to be at a place to easily attract a level 9 man and a level 9 reality. How does that work in specific? Well, instead of insisting on how awesome you are, You would have to get a more realistic view. You might, for example, try to see yourself from the outside. Have you ever done that? It is immensely helpful. Have you ever seen a photo of yourself after a long time of not seeing one and been surprised how you look? Maybe you didn't expect to be that overweight, or have that much hair loss, or be that skinny, or have that kind of skin tone, or whatever. This is because of what I said earlier. The egoic mind is lying to you. It doesn't show you the way you actually are. It creates an imaginary overlay. But you don't create a new reality by denying reality. Before you can change reality, confront it as it is. Or maybe you haven't heard your own voice in a while and are surprised at how it sounds. Or maybe you are seeing yourself filmed for the first time in a long time and are shocked at your body language. It's good to get an outside view of yourself on occasion. Ask someone for feedback, or film yourself, or imagine what you look like from the eyes of another. For our student who wants to attract different men to see who she is at level 7, she could get a brief feeling or sense to go into detail as follows. At this level, one may have facial expression, voice, vocabulary, clothing and style of dressing, interests, activities, thoughts, emotions, preferred places, websites, foods, sense of time, posture, goals, smell, looks, preferences, habits, friends, work, way of working, and other factors specific to that level. To help this student move forward, I could let her define these items for levels 6, 7, 8, and 9. That would be a detailed, meticulous way of doing it. It's not what I do most of the time because that much usually is not necessary. Sometimes just catching a visualized glimpse of who you are at 7 versus 8 versus 9 is enough to initiate the inner change being sought. So I asked, do you have an idea who you are at 7 compared to 8? Who you are at 7 and who you are at 8? I had her describe herself one level higher. She said, well, I'd be more relaxed on dates, that's for sure. I'd love that. It's something I can work on, and I could set boundaries regarding sex from the very beginning, instead of teasing it and then withdrawing. That would be a mature way of showing up. The level 8 version of me isn't worried about expressing what she wants. She just does it. I just realized my 8 version doesn't care. She'll just say it as it is. Right now, I also don't dress as fancy as I could because I don't want to scare the guys off. But as my level 8, I would dress whichever way I really like, in stuff that makes me feel luxurious. Yeah, I've denied myself that. I had this thought that I should appear natural and dress in more casual clothing, but that's not really who I am when I go out. So I don't know why I'm pretending to be sloppy when I'm not. And that's how easy it was for me to get tangible action steps from her. And note that I didn't provide any. I had her provide them all. The changes required for her were simple. Relax. Communicate more openly and dress more stylishly. I'm not saying those action steps are easy, but they are simple to understand. We later worked on each of them separately. All she needed was a very clear idea on how to be an 8. Seeing it written here makes it look extremely easy. It is easy. What makes it seem hard is that people don't bother to look. It's important to look at your next higher level. Certainly, that's not too much to ask. Exposing her to level 8 is no guarantee that she will become an 8, but it makes it much, much more likely. Now, at least she has an idea of which direction to take. Which direction is upwards. I also had her define level 5 men, level 6 men, and level 7 men, as well as level 8 and level 9 men. Then, just for fun, we did level 3 men. She started having fun with this. Contrast and comparison are not bad things. They are the essence of all humor. Finally, she knew what she was looking for in a man and what she has to offer. And with that, nothing stood in her way. I didn't hear from her again, but years later I saw on her social media account that she was happily married to a good and smart-looking guy. And there you go. The upscaling method works. Now, like I said, there are some different tangents and methods that the book goes into. For example, upscaling your thoughts and beliefs. That's a chapter. Upscaling for manifesting. Whoa, that one works because it puts you, the whole thing here, you notice? Put yourself on the vibration of the thing that you want in your life. What this book teaches you is where you're not, and you'll discover that through the full exercise. Upscaling actions. And then one of the latter chapters is very important, aligned thoughts. And then the book ends with various scales. So once you hear the full spectrum of these scales, he gives you a bunch of scales for different areas. So there's a lot of application in this. There's a guided meditation right off the bat, chapter 2. So I really hope that you'll take this to heart and you can practice it right now. Just think of things higher. Think of things higher. Where are you? But you really do have to be honest. And the best way to discover where you are is the full spectrum that he teaches. So it's available on Audible and Apple Books. For Audible, you do not need a subscription. You can buy it one-off. Easier to do that on Amazon, and then typically check the price because Apple Books sometimes is $1 or $2 cheaper. I hope that after you listen to this, you will really start to think about this upscaling. Get the book. Doesn't take long to listen. I talk slowly anyway. Put it on 1.5. You'll have it done in no time. Then you can really start applying this in your life. This is one of those things that once you start to do it, you'll start looking across everything and you'll say, how can I upscale? How can I upscale? Where can I upscale? Just like this. How can I simplify? How can I simplify? And it's like, what level of energy is this? You have that package? Man, you're doing great. You really are. Thanks, Fred, for another good book. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you again in your earbuds, and along the way, enjoy the journey. I'm Thomas Miller. Thanks for stopping by.